special today because it's also sponsored by Mr. Heater, and we have Jeff Bush on the line, who is a representative for Mr. Heater, and we're going to pass it off to him so he can talk a little bit about his company and his product before we get started here. So, Jeff, take it away. Oh, sorry about that, Jeff. We're having a little technical difficulties. You should be able to switch the screens momentarily, and you're ready to go. So can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Heater and your Hero product?
Sure. Good afternoon to everyone, and I appreciate all your time today. Caitlin, thanks for being a great host. We wanted to just share a few things about our company and about our brand. The Mr. Heater brand was founded in 1955, and so we are into our 56th year. And Caitlin, I'm having issues moving this.
Okay. There we go. For some reason it wasn't flipping.
All right. So sorry about that. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
That's okay. So we're going to talk just a few minutes real quick about the Mr. Heater and what competitive edge we feel like we have out there. We know that to be successful in retailing today, for all of you on the call, that you need manufacturers like us to bring really interesting and cool innovation for the consumers to get excited about, and we certainly recognize that, and we're here to talk about some of the things we've been doing. So, as I said, our brand has been around since 1955. It is the brand in heating. We have many consumers ask for our brand by name. Equally exciting is it's a brand we built around the independent retail channel, and I know that's near and dear to everyone's heart on this conference call. But we've really focused and built a solid foundation, at the independent retail channel level, and we're very excited about that. And we really feel like, that's where our niche is and where we need to be focused on. We have a unique strategy. We still do make products in the USA here in Cleveland, Ohio, and we also make products in China. That is differentiated from many other manufacturers, and certainly heating manufacturers today, where everyone else is making 100% in China. And we feel like China brings some positives, but a lot of challenges, and we need to hedge our bets, and we feel very comfortable having a dual strategy between both countries. When we do go to China, we are produced in our own dedicated captive factory, which makes us feel comfortable about the quality and the deliveries we're able to have. We have a quality team based on-site full-time in all of our factories, and that gives all of us that sleep-at-night mentality. Both at the retail level as well as within our walls. Uniquely, we support a full domestic warehouse program. We're not just bringing in containers from overseas and delivering them to retailers. We do that sometimes, but mostly we bring products into our warehouse, store them, stock them, and that allows you to keep your inventory down by just drawing on what we have. And that's a big plus servicing the independent retail channel. And really lastly, legendary customer service is easy to say, but it's in our mission statement. We have over 20 people focused on customer care, service parts, tech service. We pride ourselves on any call that we get in, even in a crazy heating season in the winter. Every call is returned the same day. No one goes home until the queue is complete and empty and everyone has their answers. And in today's world, we feel like that's very important. That's a very important level of service. I just put on the screen just a couple shots. This is some of our brick and mortar that we have here in the United States. New shots of a brand new distribution facility we put up. You can see a lot of space, and heaters are starting to fill up, and we're thinking about summer as consumers, but as Mr. Heater, we're thinking about winter. You heard me talk about customer care. We have 460 plus service centers around the country that you can see on the map. We train and communicate with each of these service centers on a weekly basis, and so a consumer that brings a product into those service centers is able to get their service, whether it be warranty or just standard repair. We feel like that's a very important part of adding that finishing touch to having the consumers be happy with the product they purchase. As we get into innovation, and that's really what we're here to talk about today, we are developing products and supporting factories all 24 hours across the globe. And so we like to say we're developing products 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do that through our teams that exist both here in the United States as well as in other countries. We currently hold over 49 U.S. and global patents or patents pending, which feel like puts us in the forefront of innovation in our category. You see in the lower left-hand corner the Buddy products we've become known for over the last decade. These are indoor-outdoor heaters that have oxygen sensors on them that allow them to be used both indoors and outdoors. And they become the staple in that niche of the market. And that was a huge innovation in its day, and they remain patented today and a big part of our business. But the main reason we're here today is to talk about the next step in heater innovation that we wanted to share with you and that we're very excited about, as right now we're on the eve of the big launch that starts here in August. And that launch is what's called the Hero product. This kind of gives you a feel for sometimes how long it takes to innovate and to be truly innovative. Over 5 years ago, we began working on the concept for a forced air heater. And I believe all of you know what a forced air heater product is. But we had this vision, when you go to the store and you're able to buy cordless drills and cordless power equipment, we had this vision that why not have a heater that's cordless and truly portable. So that vision started about 5 years ago. That moved on quickly to us filing our first patent for a cordless forced air heater because we realized that there wasn't one that existed in the world at the time. Over the period, the next few years, we invested in battery and charging technology and really figuring out how to make this vision come to life. By the end of 2009, we'd filed a second patent for a heater that was able to use multiple sources of electricity. And I'll share more with you in a minute about that. And then while we were doing this, we noticed that the burner that we had developed in this special technology was extremely quiet. And we felt like we had some intellectual property there as we were developing the cordless, that the burner actually came along and was somewhat of a surprise. And so we were able to, in 2010, file a third patent application covering a new burner, which reduces electricity and the noise levels. And so, over the last 6 years, this product has been in development. And we're very excited, as I said, this coming August, to launch the world's first cordless forced air heater. And so you see the picture I'm showing you there. It's really a very unique look in all black. The carton or the POP packaging you see on the left is a very unique look, different in the heating industry, and we feel like it's really going to pop off the store shelf, when you're comparing it to other, I'll call it, corded heaters available. So we're very excited to launch the world's first cordless forced air heater. We've been using the tagline, Powerful, Quiet, Cordless, to try to tell the story. The Hero heater is 35,000 BTU, which is carries a lot of heat. You could put it in a garage and warm up the garage very quickly. The performance that we've seen in all of our testing does exceed that of a standard corded forced air heater. It brings the garage up to heat faster. On the quiet side, as you heard me mention, the burner we developed along the way really turned into what was our third patent and extremely exciting. The burner in the Hero delivers 50% less noise than a standard forced air heater. And it's easy to spout numbers, but one of the biggest challenges with having a heater in a semi-enclosed space, because you're not going to bring these indoors, but in a semi-enclosed space, whether it's a garage with the window open or a construction site, is the noise. We have contractors tell us that they're willing to, a lot of times, turn the heater off and be cold just because the noise after 4 or 5 hours drives them crazy. And so being able to deliver 50% less noise than a standard forced air heater was a huge asset to this, an attribute to this product, and very exciting. Additionally, it draws 80% less power than a standard forced air heater. So from a green standpoint and from a cost of running standpoint, 80% power obviously is very significant. So you get the quiet and you get significantly less power draw than a standard unit. But really what's most exciting is the fact purely that it's cordless. It has a built-in battery and charging system. It operates up to 8 hours on one battery charge, so you can charge it at night, take it in the morning, and you basically use it for an entire day, an entire work day. It operates on 115 volt like a traditional heater, and so if your battery is drained, you can plug it in the wall and continue to run it while it's charging, which is another very unique attribute. The smart charging system fully charges in about 5.5 to 6 hours. And so, again, you charge it in the evening, and then you have a full day of use. As we continue, then your mind starts thinking about, where can I use heat that in the past I've not been able to use heat. Where can I take a cordless heater? And obviously now this is heat that you can reach anywhere. You know, we're thinking about garage and workshops are kind of standard, repair shops, construction and job sites, sporting events. Tailgating is a great application because you obviously don't have power unless you're toting along a generator in your truck. Farms and agriculture, we picture, you know, a farmer that has a tractor in the field and he's working on it in the dead of winter, and you can take the Hero heater out, you know, cordless out, and he can be heated up and he can be a little more comfortable while he's working on the tractor, he or she. Loading docks, warehouses, these are just different ideas about where you can now take a heater. In the past you weren't able to do that. Really talking about innovation, and this will finish it up for me. Innovation can not only be in products, it can also be in presentation, POP, and even marketing campaigns. We're working this fall to drive traffic to your stores in many innovative ways and getting consumers excited about it so they're coming into stores looking for our product. We're embarking on a marketing campaign that's going to generate over 20 million impressions online, really focused on our new website, MrHeaterHero.com, as well as advertising and a lot of online work. We have a retail locator that will be able to push interest and leads out to the retailers. We've done a whole video campaign that we'll have online where consumers can watch our videos and can learn about different ways and ideas on how to use the product. And lastly, I think all of you probably are aware that QR codes have kind of become the way of the future, and we do have a QR code on the package where if you scan the carton with your smartphone, you'll be able to watch a video of the heater and how it works and where ideas on where you can use it right there, you know, at the retail shelf in your stores. And you know, the mixing of online and brick and mortar is becoming more and more mixed every day, I guess, and with consumers using technology and the internet and so forth. And so we're really bringing that internet marketing, videos, and QR codes all together with this exciting launch that we have coming up in August. So I appreciate all of your time, and it's just given me a few minutes to share what we have going on with the Hero and the world's first cordless forced air heater. And Caitlin, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing that with us. It sounds like you've got a great product there, and it's a great product to go with our seminar that we've got going on today with so much heating concerns now that we're thinking about fall and winter already.
Yep, that's a good fit, I think.
Well, thank you very much. And now we'll go on to the second part of our webinar, where we've got two retail panelists that I want to thank for being with us today. We've got Chris Hughes from Hardware Plus in Osceola, Indiana, and we've got Brian Young, and he's got 2 stores in upstate New York. Thank you guys for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Okay, and before we get started with the discussion with the retailers, I want to go over a few different trends that we've kind of been noticing for fall. So the real question is that, you know, spring and summer, they're such big selling seasons for the home improvement industry. How do you keep the momentum going? So let me talk about a few different trends that we've been noticing. All of our listeners are probably sick of hearing us talk about canning, but that's one of the biggest trends that we've been noticing. Food preservation has been huge over the past few years. We'll also talk a little bit about winter preparation. You know, fall is the perfect time to start winterizing your home. Also, storage and organization. Homeowners, they're going to be looking to keep organized and get rid of some of their summer stuff, start transitioning into fall and into the holidays. And the last big trend for fall will be hunting and outdoor recreation. So the first one, like I said, was food preservation. We've got a little bit of statistics here from the National Gardening Survey. This is from the 2009 one. This is the latest one we have available. But as you can see on this chart, from 2007 to 2008, canning supplies more than doubled in sales. And you can also see on here food processing equipment, food drying, and overall net food preservation has gone up. And this is measured in millions of households that purchase the products in this category. So I'm sure a lot of the retailers listening in are probably agreeing with this, that they've seen canning just go through the roof lately. And that probably has a little bit about, you know, the economy. People are trying to save money, you know, stretch their dollars. And the next one we're going to talk about is winter preparation. And like I mentioned, this is the time that, and, you know, even though we are talking about the fall, those last few months where it is still a little bit warm out, those are the perfect times to start preparing for the winter and the snow and ice, which is probably what no one wants to be thinking about right now. But home insulation kits are always huge for fall. Get them started early so it's not so much of a last-minute ordeal once the temperature starts dropping. Then also lawn and garden cleanup. We've been noticing a lot of people have been trying to stretch out their lawn and gardening efforts into the fall, and this is the perfect time to take use of that still warm weather and start, with the raking the leaves and getting everything prepared for the winter. And then lastly is the winterization of outdoor power equipment. And this is a perfect way for retailers to offer those kind of services, either through your rental department or other services that you can take care of that for them, bleed out the gasoline and things like that so nothing freezes up. And next we're going to talk a little bit about storage and organization. We've got some information from the NPD group, and as you can see on here, 8% of consumers plan to purchase storage and organization products during the holiday season. Now, although that says during the holiday season, it also can push up into the fall before Thanksgiving when a lot of people are doing their Christmas and holiday shopping. However, 84% plan to purchase these items from larger stores, from either big boxes or retail giants like Walmart and Target, which kind of puts the smaller independents in a bit of a rut when it comes to storage and organization. And this next quote from Mark Delaney from the NPD group really describes what consumers are looking for when it comes to storage and organization. It says on here that they're going to forego advice in favor of selection. So if you're going to go into the storage and organization category, you're going to have plenty of products. You're going to have a large depth and width when it comes to storage and organization. And moving on to the next one is going to be hunting and outdoor recreation. The fall is the start of hunting season in most states. This is the perfect opportunity for retailers to tap into this market. And we talked a little bit about this before in Harder Retailing. And as you can see, hunting license sales have rose 3.5%. And Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation reported that sales of fishing licenses nationwide are up 7.7%. And while fishing is kind of universal through the spring and summer and a little bit into the fall, hunting is a great way to get customers into your store. And as you can see, an estimated 21.8 million Americans hunted at least once over the past 5 years. And this is a great way. We've spoken to a few retailers in the past, and a lot of them are offering hunting licenses, and although it doesn't provide any money for your store, it all goes straight to the state, but this is a great way. They're coming in for a hunting license. You might as well upsell them on gear, supplies, anything like that you might have stocked in your store. And now, before we get started with the retailers, I just want to go over real quickly this fall project guide, which would be a great way to kind of get prepared for the fall. As you can see here, we've mapped out the different kind of major projects that we've talked about, then also the tools and the services that the customers are going to need. So when this is over, if anyone wants a copy of this project guide, we will have this online, and also feel free to email me, and I can send you this information. This might just be good stuff to have hanging up in your store and letting your employees know that this is what they're going to need. Now, enough with me talking. We'll get to the retailers. They're waiting patiently. And what I'll do now is just have both of you introduce yourself. Chris, how about we start with you? Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your store?
Sure. Our store was, started about 1927. I've actually owned it about 3 years. I'm the fourth owner. About 10,000 square feet, 8,000 sales floor, 2,000 back room. We're right by South Bend, Indiana, so we're in Lake Effect country. And part of the things I was going to talk about was tailgating supplies for the Notre Dame games as well as Bear games. I guess, am I missing anything there?
No, that sounds great. I guess what we'll do real quick is we'll pass it off to Brian. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your stores, just so the listeners are familiar?
Yeah, sure. We've got 2 stores. One's in a little town of 500, and the other is in, right next to literally 75 feet from a Walmart and a Lowe's. So both stores are in opposite extremes. One has complete competition. The other doesn't really have too much competition at all. They're both about 6,000, 7,000 square feet, the showroom space. And that's the third generation. It's been in my family for 54 years. And we're going a lot more to the weekend warrior, the hunter, fisher, that type of thing, just what you touched on, Caitlin. So,
okay.
Yep.
Perfect. I guess, Brian, we'll just start off the first question with you. What are
Sure.
some of the ways that you prepare your store for the fall selling season? What are some of the important things that retailers need to keep in mind?
I think the biggest thing is you start preparing right about now. I mean, I tend to think of it not until September or so, but really we have to start phasing out our lawn and garden stuff even now, and watching how paring back on our inventory so that basically our spring and lawn and garden stuff have to evolve into our fall clothing, winter clothing, boots, hunting and fishing equipment. Hunting more than fishing, of course.
Okay, thank you.
So it starts with an early prep, yeah.
Perfect.
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I know we'll be talking a little about the subjects, but specifically lawn and garden, kind of what to do with that during these months. Now, Chris, let me pass it off to you. What are some of the main things, you'll probably end up repeating Brian a little bit, but what are some of the main things you do to prepare for fall?
Sure. Well, we don't do much in the hunting category except for a little camouflage clothing from a local supplier. But we're huge in the lawn and garden. That's one of our big strong points. We do a lot with winterizing service and as far as lawns and closing up with pools. We'll transition end caps usually around the back to school time with heat shrink kits, caulking, mouse type stuff. Just different end caps that are just kind of focused more towards preparing your home and lawn and garden for the winter time coming up.
Okay, perfect. Now, I know you mentioned a few little areas, but what are there any specific products that are big sellers during the fall? Are there kind of the can't miss items that you need to stock in your store?
For us, we do a lot of RV antifreeze. We do a lot of shrink kits. Caulking is a huge one for us, and off the top of my head, probably some, like I said, the mouse type poisons and traps and that sort of thing is for some reason huge.
Okay. Now, how about you, Brian? In New York, are there any specific products that are big for the fall?
Yeah, I mean, like Chris said, the winterization and things like that, and then especially when the temperature starts to change, those darn rodents start coming inside, and that the poison is and the traps, those are obviously big sellers. We found a trend toward higher end boots and things like that, like actually decent clothing as far as like a winter workwear, sporting good workwear. That was something we started to dabble in about 4 years ago. Even though the hunting market was starting to drop here in New York, it seemed like the retailers supporting that were dropping quicker than the demand was for it. So that's something that we've sort of picked up on, even though I'm not a hunter myself.
Okay. And then how about, are there any categories that struggle during the fall? Do you scale back on any of the core departments, would you say? Oh, Brian, we'll go with you for that one.
Okay. Well, I think just and I'm sure Chris will touch on this also. It's more the growing aspect of it, the fertilizers, things like that. Maybe the winterizer fertilizer has never been a huge thing for us. Maybe we're in a little too rural of an area, but it's definitely the growing stuff is what we want to have the least amount of on the showroom floor. That's really all I can think of that we really scale back on besides any light clothing that we might carry.
Okay, and how about you, Chris? What areas do you scale back on any of the departments in your store during the fall?
The things I tend to think about that we scale back the most on is probably our chemicals and that sort of thing. Birdseed and that sort of thing will pick up, but chemicals, edging, and some of the landscaping stuff just doesn't seem to take off too well in the fall. So we tend to find we're ordering a lot less of that in the fall and tend to wind down those departments.
Okay, sounds good. And now we'll kind of get on to the hot button topic here. Chris, we'll start with you. How do you use lawn and garden during the outdoor living months? Like, how do you use up that space?
For us, we tend to transition down and start moving in some ice melters, and we're huge in ice melters, and we began wholesaling a lot of it to some of the snowplow guys around here, and it turned out to really help our cash flow and so forth in some of those slower winter months. But we've got all sorts of ice melter, different sizes and so forth. So some of our bulk areas where we may have 6-8 pallets of winterizers and different fertilizers. We may dwindle those down to about 2, and then start moving in some of the ice melters so that we're prepared for when winter strikes. But also we'll set up some areas for snow shovels, get those set up, as people they hate to see them out, but yet we tend to do some in September and October just because people are thinking, yeah, I need one, might as well get while the selection's good.
Okay, and Chris, do you have a greenhouse where you stock live plants at all at your store?
We do. We just use, I think you showed one of those slides. We had a picture of a greenhouse, and that's only up about 6 to 8 weeks, and we only keep that up in the springtime for annuals and so forth, and tend to blow them out within that time period, and then we take it back down.
Okay, do you use that at all, I guess either for storage or anything like that during the fall and winter months?
Not yet, but we're almost to the point I think we're going to have to, because we're running out of, we have a big storage building out back, and it's packed full of ice melter.
Okay, how about you, Brian? What do you do with your lawn and garden and outdoor living areas once you start heading into the fall months?
Well, we find we have to really just pare back on. I mean, I hate to be like the big guys, but in a sense, they do a lot of that right with really rotating their square footage, and that's especially being in our new store, which is only 7,000 square feet. It's something that we feel we really need to monitor closely every square foot. So our goal is to actually cut that back as much as possible, except for those core items that a few people will need and look for throughout the year. But the rest is going to be rotated right into the higher end boots, like Georgia Rocky boots, some of the sporting and work clothing. So that's where we're really going to be focusing on for that area.
Okay, Brian, and I'll go to the next question for you. I know we're talking about the fall here, but fall is the perfect time to start preparing for the holiday season and all the shopping that goes along with that. How do you prepare for the holidays, and when do you start preparing for the holidays?
Well, I think a lot of what we're trying to do, and I guess it's not only just holiday season, but it's throughout the whole year, is capture people's marketing information. That's the best way so that we can contact them about specific holiday specials, like email marketing, things like that. We do specific giveaways throughout the year. Not one every month, but we usually like to do a nice big giveaway maybe once every 3 months, once a quarter, and capture information that way. Also want to, decorate accordingly, like this picture actually shows. Is that your place, Chris?
Not mine, but it looks good.
It looks good. You can admit to it. You can admit to it anyways. But the biggest thing is the seasonal decoration and seasonal attitude more than anything. So I would start each year. We get into Christmas a little bit earlier. It's starting to get to the point where our mindset has to start right at Halloween for Christmas, because it always seems to catch us.
The holidays kind of running into each other from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas and those holidays. How do you handle keeping on track of all of those holidays? Like, when do you have to start? Like, does Christmas start running into Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving running into Halloween?
Well, I think for me at least, people don't buy more because of Thanksgiving necessarily. So we use pretty much at least in Prattsville, we use a benchmark of having the goal of having our ideas set in place for what we're going to do for Christmas at around a little after Halloween.
Okay.
Whether or not it's actually implemented by then, of course, things always get in the way. But at least we got a fairly strong plan set up in the next 2 weeks after that.
Okay, and now I'll pass it off to Chris. What do you do for the holiday season to prepare?
Well, it's a pretty easy question for me because we don't do hardly anything. So for some reason, we don't sell much Christmas stuff. We'll carry a few basic lights, replacement bulbs. We tend to do better on the extension cords, the light adapters, and stuff like that. We'll pick up sales like that, but for some reason, people go to the Wally Worlds and all the other box stores. to get that. And we tried it a couple years ago, and it just, it flopped. It really didn't sell for us. And, we'll carry some pumpkin carving kits, and we'll carry some pumpkins, but we really don't do too much with it. And so far, that seemed to work out pretty good for us. Maybe we'll try again in a few years, but it just doesn't seem to be a good niche to get into, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah, not much. And so we'll run a gift card. We do the day after Thanksgiving, the Black Friday. We'll do some gift specials through the entire weekend, and we'll pump that through Facebook. But we don't do too much as far as Christmas other than the real basic stuff.
Okay, and Chris, do you hold any special events in your store catered around the fall? I know some stores do things like, canning seminars, lawn and garden seminars, any kind of things like that?
We currently have not. We're actually just talking about doing a lawn one this year, so I may have to let you know how that goes. But currently,
sounds good. And Brian, how about you? Do you host any events in either one of your stores catered to fall or even holidays?
Usually we do. As far as like in our practical store, as far as seminars, we'll do like since it's a rather rural area, we'll do some equine seminars. Here in our new store in Catskill, we have a second floor, which is 1,000 feet of it's going to be dedicated to just a learning center for seminars. So that's not finished yet, so I'll let you know how that goes. As far as events go, we did one last year that was a really big surprise of a hit. We did a $300 shopping spree, which I figure, well, maybe that's not enough to get people excited about, but it was everybody that came in registered for it for free, and then for every $25 that they spent, they got another chance to win the shopping spree. And we used it as a little promotional for people, and we did it for the whole month of November. And so then, if somebody was at $45, say, no, I don't know if you need anything else. Another $5 gets you another free ticket. Some people cared about it, some people didn't, but it was a neat way to have some of the clerks just upsell that way. And it was neat to see who ends up winning and things like that. And it went to a really good single parent who was struggling. So it was a nice little story. So.
Okay, I'm sure that was a great way to kind of, increase interest in your store and get people shopping more.
Right, exactly. And it was something that an event that we could carry on for 2-3 weeks rather than just a one-day event.
Okay. Did that affect your margins at all or your bottom line?
We had our best November ever because of that. Well, I think partly because of that. It's tough to say just to say exactly why, but we did end up having our best November.
Okay, perfect. And then I know we've got a lot of questions coming in, so I'll start kind of wrapping it up here. But, Brian, I guess let's go with you. What's one piece of advice that you'd give other retailers who are looking to really make fall a big season for them?
I mean, just in general, definitely our mindset as retailers. I mean, we have to be, and I say this to my employees, that we have to be the brightest star out there amongst all the big guys. I mean, we have to be the happiest, the funnest, the most, geez, I gotta be their place amongst all the other Walmarts, Lowe's, Home Depots. I know that's a generic answer, but I think that's something that I really feel needs to permeate through the whole season, especially even in the fall months when everybody's a little bit depressed because the days are getting shorter and things. It's our job to be the brightest store on the block.
Okay, perfect. And how about you, Chris? What's your piece of advice for retailers when it comes to the fall selling season?
I think a lot of it has come down to do a little bit of advanced planning and, have your end caps and so forth clicked out of what you want to do, and then be sharp on some items. I mean, you want to get that price perception that, we've got great prices here too, and hopefully some of that carries over through the winter. But, like Brian said too, you just like you said, you have to go above and beyond and, give them more of a reason to shop at your store.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you guys so much. And we've got a ton of questions coming in here, so I'll just start rattling those off, and whoever feels, better to answer them, feel free. One of our first questions from one of our attendees is about canning. How much room do each of you designate to canning? And Chris, how about let's start with you. Do you have a big canning area in your store?
We don't. Now you go, 30 miles to the south, 30 miles to the north, it's huge. But for our area, it's not real big. We
do you think that just has to do with kind of your location not being as rural?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we do carry, a few boxes of jars, the lids, the rings, all that stuff, and we do have some, representation. And we usually like the, someone's like, well, I can't find it anywhere else, but I knew you would have it. And I'm sure all of us as retailers have heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
But we, so we have the stuff usually, but we're not huge into it.
Okay, and how about you, Brian? Do you have a big canning area in your store?
We have, I'm trying to think about, we have an end cap, and then we have in our power aisle, we have a 6-foot display of it. About an 8-foot display, 4.5, 5 feet of it's canning, and then the rest are the salsa mixes and things like that. So,
has it been pretty popular for you, or is it kind of on and off?
Well, it has been. Yeah, I mean, it has been popular at both stores. It's really starting to get even more popular down here next to the big guys, next to Walmart and stuff like that. Although it's tough price point wise against them, but it is some of those niche items. It's pretty nice because they don't carry those. So.
Okay, great, thank you. And now we have actually got a few questions for Jeff Bush from Mr. Heater. Jeff, some of our attendees were wondering what's the retail on the Hero heater, and then what kind of margins can retailers expect off of that item?
Sure, Caitlin, thanks. The retail for the Hero is going to be in the $179 to $199 range. And as a hard good, heating is typically, it has never been a real keystone type item. So you're kind of 30s, 40s for margins.
Okay, perfect. And we've also got another question for you, Jeff, is specifically are Mr. Heater products available in southwestern Ontario?
Yeah, we actually have our products sold really throughout Canada. So
okay.
Really all throughout. And certainly we can get my email address to anyone that has interest.
Absolutely. We can get your information out there. Now, we've got another question for our retailers here. Specifically Brian, I know you mentioned kind of workwear, clothing, and boots. How do you keep up on the trends in those categories, and how do you keep your margins up on those?
As far as trends go, it's trying to think here. It is a little bit difficult. The workwear tends to stay about the same, so that's pretty simple with the 4 or 5 pair of key work boots that the same guys come in for. They like that all the time, and they just buy the same ones year after year. As far as some of the trendy ones, then it gets a little bit iffy. Usually I take a chance on a couple of them, a couple different pair of the different boots a year, but a little bit careful about that. You can definitely run into a cash flow crunch if you start wiping yourself out a little too thin with too many different styles. So that can be a little bit of an issue. The price point, what we found was we go by a suggested retail and then keep it just a little bit below that, and say suggested retail, and then this is our price, $10 below that. A nice thing that we started doing last year was actually, rather than taking money off of a boot, $20 off of a boot, we would give a $30 gift certificate with it. And what that did was that brought them back in the store, and a lot of times they'd buy more than $30 worth of stuff. Then, of course, that's not $30 out of our pocket. That's depending on your margin, $20 or $15, whatever. So that worked out really nice, just a little side way of giving people a little extra value and getting them back in again without killing your margin.
Okay, great. And how about you, Chris? Do you get into the workwear, clothing, boot area at all?
No, we haven't. I know it's a growing category, but for us it's more of a space issue. We just don't have the space. So we carry a local camouflage supplier that I know he's not selling to the boxes, and so it's kind of unique to our area, and there seems to be a little bit of a following for that. So yeah, other than the space issue, we probably would get into it a little bit, especially some of the clothing lines.
Okay, and then we've also got another question for our retailers. When it comes to selling off your summer merchandise, kind of when do you start that, and how much do you discount that to try to get it out of the store? And Chris, I guess let's just keep with you on that question.
Sure. We actually are pretty fortunate. We tend to run our inventories down and don't have to do much discounting. I think last year was the first year that I think we actually did, that I can remember in my 20 years here, we actually did a little bit of a closeout on pool chemicals. And I think we gave out 20% off or something, I think is what we ended up doing. It cleaned it up pretty nicely. But other than that, we come pretty clean on our fertilizers and so forth. And we also run a lawn service through the store too. So the fertilizers that we have sometimes left in the store, we're able to spread that way and get it out. So we basically start with all new stuff coming the following year.
Okay, great. And Brian, how about you? When do you start selling off your summer merchandise, and how far do you discount it?
We really don't discount anything too majorly until after Labor Day. Unless it's plants and that type of thing, then we'll start discounting that. Usually after July 4th is when the plants start getting discounted and thinned out. Other than that, we'll keep the prices up until Labor Day really, and then start phasing it down.
Okay, Brian. And how about we've got another question about wild bird supplies. Do you carry that at all in your store?
Yes, yeah, a lot of that.
Has that been pretty popular through the fall and winter months, especially?
Very popular. Yeah. That's a huge category in our new location. It's in Catskill. We're seeing that's even strong even during the weakest months, which tend to be spring and summer. So yeah, that's a strong category for sure.
Okay, do you carry just kind of the bird seed, or do you go into the bird houses and homes and things like that?
Now we go into the feeders, the homes, that type of thing, even, and then of course into the specialty seeds and that type of thing.
Okay, and Chris, how about you? Do you do a lot of wild bird supplies in your store?
Yeah, actually we do. We have about 16 feet of seed and 16 feet of feeders. We don't get into the houses yet, but maybe that's something we ought to look at. I spoke with another retailer, Evan Norris, which I know you guys know, and he kind of gave me an idea too that they run the month of November, they'll run a month-long sale on birdseed and basically slash their margin to get people kind of accustomed to coming in and trying different blends possibly that they wouldn't ordinarily try. And that's something we're actually looking about doing probably October, November-ish for us too. Just be a way of doing something, like I said, a little different, and possibly doing a rewards type program with one of our birdseed suppliers. I think you buy 10 bags, you get one free, and they actually co-opt the free bag. So it's not really any money out of our pocket, but also get some repeat business coming back to buy their seeds in later months throughout the winter.
Okay, perfect. And then we actually have another question for Jeff with Mr. Heater. One of our attendees is wondering, is Mr. Heater, are you at any of the trade shows, either the hardware show or any of the co-ops?
Yes, the hardware show that just ended, well, it would have been in May, we did not attend, but we are at ACE, TrueServe, Do It Best, all those shows, Orgle. So absolutely, we're out there. Okay,
absolutely. And I think those are all the questions we have so far. I wanted to put up this before we end here. I wanted to mention that if you want any more information on Mr. Heater or the Hero Heater, visit www.mrheater.com. Then we also have got a really interesting video up on NRHA TV's YouTube site, and it's got all kinds of information about Mr. Heater and its different uses. So feel free to visit our YouTube page and click on Mr. Heater Presents the Hero Portable Forced Air Heater for more information. And then also, here's my contact information here. If any of you have any additional questions for our panelists or for Jeff for Mr. Heater, feel free to shoot me an email, and I can pass it along to the right person or provide you with the right information. And I want to thank Brian, Chris, and Jeff for being our panelists today. And if anyone has any further questions, just shoot me an email, and thank you for attending.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin.